Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into the show. My name is UltimatDJz, and Talking Trek beyond the Star Trek Fleet Command universe and into the canon universe is on tap for you here today. We've got to take our pre-roll that happens in 30 seconds. Get sub to the channel. Go on. Hit that button. Yeah. 20 seconds. We'll take our pre-roll and we'll get this show on the road.
DJz and Bubba Joe ready to dive into the stars, the galaxy so wide. Kirk and Picard tales will revive. UltimatDJz tries but can't hide. Bubba Joe says, DJz, you're wrong. Listen up, we're singing our song. From the Enterprise to Voyager's throng, every battle makes us strong. Talking Trek with tales to share. Warp speed stories in the captain's chair. DJz and Bubba Joe, what's fair is fair. Every episode we got some flair. Oh, DJz claims facts, but Bubba's got the lore. Debate in deep space from core to core. Phase is set to stun, we got much more. This journey's wild, we explore. So tune in now, don't miss a beat. Talking Trek's a fan club treat. DJs and Bubba can't be beat. Star Trek wisdom in every seat. Oh yeah, talking Trek with tales to share. Warp speed stories in the captain's chair. DJs and Bubba Joe, what's fair is fair. Every episode we got some flair. So tune in now, don't miss a beat. Talking Trek's a fan club treat. DJs and Bubba can't be beat. Star Trek wisdom in every seat. Oh, talking Trek with tales to share. Warp speed stories in the captain's chair. DJs and Bubba Joe, what's fair is fair. Every episode we got some
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into the show. My name is UltimatDJz. This is Talking Trek, ordinarily Star Trek Fleet Command's official podcast with my right-hand man, Bubba Joe, is over here. How you doing, my friend? Welcome in to yet another Between the Arcs show. How are you, man?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you, community. You guys are incredible. Appreciate the early hype train here. Papa Smurf piping in there. Don Zeno with 28 months on this channel. It's absolutely wild. Moose, 18 months. And Alicia with the big old tier 3. Thank you. Worf with the resub. Dastros, check. Thompson, Strider, James Bond, GH Teacher, Dog Red. Thank you guys so very much. J-Babes with the Tier 2 resub. Thank you guys so very much. Bubba Joe, welcome in to yet another month of Between the Arcs. That right there, Bubba, I told you before we started that you had your own special
you told me there was music.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
That was pretty fantastic, right? That comes from Nigel's studio. Did you know that we've got a member of our community who actually has a production, like a jingle studio? This is what he does for a living. It's wild.
That was absolutely something.
It was, indeed. As a matter of fact, I actually talked to him this past week and talked about the desire that you guys have had to get some studio B-roll. Absolutely will. This was, am I allowed to say, Nigel, can I say the name of the band that did this one for us? Because this was absolutely crazy. I don't know if you want me to or not. Yes, this was the Ronnie Scott band. The Ronnie Scott band that came in, and they were doing some other stuff. They had this kind of swinging thing. Nigel said, ooh, this would be good for Bubba. So he whipped up some lyrics, and they just kind of put this thing
right out.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of put this thing together. We talked to him about getting some of the B-roll footage and all this stuff. We're going to do that. He actually said that he had made another video and sent it over to Paulie, and it was all about G5 scrapping. It was all about G5 scrapping, so you know it's real, okay? But anyway, yeah, we'll have we're going to put together some B-roll video for you, which is going to be a lot of fun. So going to be a lot of interesting content there. J4D says, "Wow, just realized I have never met Mr. Joe. Listen to him on the podcast. Bubba Joe, very nice to make your acquaintance. J4D, Bubba, J4D. Thank you guys. How about that? Looking good.
Happy to be here.
Appreciate you guys all being here. Listen, Between the Arcs, we try to spend at least one show a month to bring you stuff outside of the Trek universe. We might do some stupid news. I don't know. We're dealing with a time constraint today. Matter of fact, that's mainly my fault. In contrary to what it would normally be, it's normally not my fault. It's normally Bubba Joe who runs horrendously late. But,
yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, yes. But we are here today to spend a little bit of time. And no, we won't be talking about the game in this particular setting, Dragon Keeper. But I was actually up super late last night, and I apologize. We had planned to do this show starting between 2 and 3 o'clock. We're running a little behind. But that was because last night we had some wild, unexpected fun over in Studio B. If that's your thing, be sure to check that out. That is my DJ channel. We have a lot of fun over there. There is a Patreon where you can catch the replay. Last night, Bubba Joe, we played Chubby Bunny with Marshmallows while I was DJing. I had a special young guest DJ with me to celebrate his 14th birthday party. Celebrate his 14th birthday. And he also had to play some Chubby Bunny. He had to tap out around 2 or 3 o'clock.
Some oldies from the 90s?
Yeah, funniest story about that. We did play some tracks, like 90s, 2000s stuff that I would have expected him to know, and he did not know. He knew a couple.
You realize that if he's 14,
that
stuff from the 90s and early 2000s are all before he was born.
I know, but I mean, we know stuff from before we were born, right? This kid, Peyton, hung out last night, and he struggled. He struggled on some of this stuff, and it just all it did was make the rest of us feel centuries older. Is what that did.
Well, I mean, we should put this in perspective, right?
Oh my goodness gracious!
So you're a child of the 90s, correct? You grew up in the 90s.
I did my growing in the 90s. I mean, I guess I was born in 83, so I mean, late 80s. Late 80s is when I probably started remembering things, I guess.
So the difference in between your preteen teenage years,
right?
Okay, and now is the same as if in your preteen teenage years you were listening to stuff from the 60s.
Yeah, and I wasn't, and that's fair. That's fair. It was kind of crazy to listen to him struggle. He has never heard the name. Now, tell me if this does not blow your mind. He's never heard the name Christina Aguilera. He's never heard.
That doesn't surprise me.
He's never heard of Kesha.
She was white hot and then died.
Never heard of Kesha. All right. Barely recognized the Backstreet Boys. All right.
Well, but like the
What?
Backstreet Boys, at least one of them is still relevant, right?
Well, yeah.
And they've done some things, and they've, as a group, have done some things in the last 5 years. So at least there's like some level of notoriety right there.
Well,
but no, like the stuff that you and I would probably consider great music from our our musical prime in our teenage years. Yeah, no one's heard of it these days. It's played on oldies channels.
I'm telling you, man, it was absolutely wild. So in the span of this, all right, I started late because Oliver had a baseball game. Bubba asked me about that. Oliver's team got trashed. Mercy rule in the fourth. We've got some work to do there. But then I got home. I was late getting started. We didn't come out to the studio until after 11 o'clock. So I agreed to stay on later. Well, as it turns out, might not necessarily be a bad thing, Bubba Joe, because there was apparently, and I didn't know this, Madrox was telling me about this at the end of the night because I didn't understand how this happens. We didn't apply for the front page. Nothing happened specific or special, all right? But last night, we ended up on the front page of twitch.tv in the carousel on the music channel. Now, Bubba, we've done that here on this channel. We've never done it on the music channel. It's brand new. That channel's been around for like 6 months now. And we've never even applied. We're not Partner Plus. We're not any of that stuff over there. So, but last night, as it turns out, we landed on the home page, on the front page of twitch.tv, where the statistics were staggering. And again, I don't want to spend a bunch of time on this. If you want to go check out the replay, I didn't get done until almost 5 a.m. So I haven't processed the replay. I'll get it up on Patreon. Visit our website at talkingtrekstfc.com or ultimatdjzplays.com. Sign up for the Patreon, and you'll see the video replay when it comes up. Last night, our statistics, Bubba Joe, just very quickly, mind-boggling. All right, 14,712 unique viewers. What?
That's large.
What? That's impressively large.
One might say impressively large.
Impressively, yes. 14,712 viewers last night. witnessed us on the front page. It looks like we were on the front page of Twitch for approximately, if I had to guess, Madrox, I'm going to go with roughly an hour and a half to 2 hours, probably. We had up to 712 viewers.
That's a big one right there. That's impressively large.
We had average viewers. Now, we did a 5-hour show. Now, this is what I want you to know. We did a 5-hour show. We had 14,700 people stop by. We were on the front page for 2 hours, but the average viewership for the entire 5 hours was 640. Now, that tells you how big it had to have been during that little bit of time to spread out, because the rest of the time we had a couple hundred. 14,712 viewers in on Studio B last night. Absolutely incredible. So you can check out that special show. Unexpected, unplanned, it just happened. Madrox says they just randomly pick people up sometimes and put it on. Silvertab said it was about 600 viewers at some point. That's when we noticed, man. That's when I was like, Madrox, what is happening? I thought it was a glitch in my system. He was like, and he was like, dude, we're on the front page, and it just kept going and going and going and going and going. We had a lot of fun with that, so I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the support on all the channels. You guys go check that out. Bubba Joe was not up at 5 o'clock in the morning. He was being responsible and prepping for today's show, where we will indeed be talking today about.
I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning,
but after a night's sleep.
But I had gone to bed first. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's all right. Silvertab. It was absolutely nuts. Lots of new follows, gifted subs last night. It was crazy. It was awesome. So thank you guys all for that. Today, Bubba Joe, I'm glad that you got some rest, because I am dragging. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say thank you very quickly for the hydrate. And
that's all our time right now, so thank you very much.
That's it.
Go.
No, listen, if you haven't yet had your hydrate, I'm going to today present to you with a Ghost Energy sour watermelon. This came in my bundle pack, my variety pack, if you will, Bubba Joe, with 200 milligrams of caffeine, 1,000 milligrams of carnitine, 0 calories, 0 sugar, and 100% of 4 daily vitamins and minerals. What are you sucking on over there? What was that?
Coffee.
That's sludge, mud water. In the meantime, I'm going to take my 5 calories. I'm going to get epic focus, legendary energy.
You know what? And it's less than 5 calories.
What's that?
Coffee.
Wow, that is sour. And that is why it is sour watermelon water. Wow. Okay, we're going to set that to the side. This box says I just finished a Welch's Grape Ghost Energy. I tried to order some of those yesterday. They were out of stock. Bubba Joe, Lower Decks has sadly wrapped up. It has.
Are we going to jump right into that?
I feel like we don't need to do stupid news. Do we need to do stupid news? Nah,
that's fine.
Nah.
I had it.
Did you write one?
It's just if I was gonna pull it over.
Did you write one?
We can do whatever. We are on a time limit, an actual time limit, not a DJ time limit, an actual time limit. So you want to jump into Lower Decks or Trek News? I'm fine. I just wanted to make sure you didn't miss your opportunity.
Stupid news.
Oops. Wrong button. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you a little bit of stupid news. Whew. Lady Gaga announced this past week that she is taking her brand new album called Mayhem on tour. The album has received actually very good reviews, which is fantastic for Lady Gaga, and a new kind of feeling, since she's not used to that after starring in the Joker 2 movie last year. A trailer for a new movie called Clown in a Cornfield, Bubba Joe, dropped this past week, and shockingly, it's not actually about Gavin Newsom visiting Iowa. Indeed, it is an actual clown horror movie, kind of like It and Terrifier. The movie features yet another killer clown. Meanwhile, somewhere in Culver City, Echo is sitting by the phone waiting for his opportunity.
It's
because he's a clown. Keepers. It's terrible. I'm awful. Keepers at a Wisconsin zoo are on the hunt of a pair of otters that escaped from their enclosure under the cover of a snowstorm here a few weeks ago, Bubba Joe. Needless to say, the staff have characterized this as a complete and utter disaster. Yeah. January Jones ripped United Airlines on social media here recently for only offering a couple of $15 food vouchers after a 16-hour flight delay. Bubba Joe, I know that we've had conversations about flight delays and so forth in the past. Mine's getting a little bit worse, but 16 hours on United. Spirit Airlines thinks that January Jones is nuts, mainly because the 16-hour delay is actually defined as on time for them. So there's that. Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the stupid news. Let's head on over to the sports desk with legendary sports anchor Bubba Joe. Yeah!
I was just waiting for the funny ones to show up.
You were what?
I was waiting for the funny ones
Bubba,
from you.
I wrote this in about 7 minutes today, bro, on zero sleep, all right? I didn't want to miss an opportunity to give stupid news with you.
Anyway, we'll skip my critique of your jokes.
Thank you very much.
The New York Giants agreed to a 1-year deal for quarterback Russell Wilson this week. Did you hear about that?
I did, actually. Yes.
They had already signed Jameis Winston to a 2-year contract, and then they went and got Russell Wilson on a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
However, we have some breaking news. Do we have a sound alert for breaking news?
Yeah, hang on. Oh, here it is.
Breaking news. The Giants have been officially eliminated from playoff contention.
Oh, nice, yes. Wait, because they got Russell Wilson, they're already out?
Because they got Russell Wilson.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. The Giants now have, as I mentioned, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston as their starting quarterbacks. The good thing is there will be plenty of completed passes. Unfortunately, most of them will be to their opponents.
Oh, yes, there you go. Oh, yeah, okay.
Speaking of things that are impressively large,
oh no!
A minor league baseball team unveiled a 6-foot-long, 10,000-calorie hot dog. And believe me, folks, you should write your own joke. Because I can't read DJs because it's awful. It's simply enormous.
Oh, yeah. I've got a punchline for that one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Bubba Joe with sports.
All right.
That's good stuff.
That's a big one right there. That's impressively large.
It was impressively large.
Yes, it is.
I had a terrible punchline for that joke right there. Mid Strangler, thank you for your 18-month resub in Dominus Prime. Drop in 5 gifted as well. Thank you very much. All right, circling back around.
Yes.
Lower Decks. Sadly, had its, I say sadly, had its final season. It probably was one of the best seasons, I feel, start to finish. Even the writing, we're going to talk about all that stuff tonight. But they are done. They have officially aired their final 10 episodes. The final episode of which, Bubba Joe, kind of does potentially leave the door open, kind of like they did with Picard, kind of like they did with Section 31, leaving the door open for potential new series to come. Whether or not those actually happen or not with Lower Decks is yet to be determined, and that is predominantly due to just this whole crazy financial business situation between Paramount and, who is it, Skydance? Is it Skydance? Something?
That sounds correct.
Something, yeah, Skydance. That's who it is. It's disappointing to me if we're talking business for a second. I did some research today, Bubba Joe, over the last several days as we were preparing for this particular piece of the show. And I know that there's going to be some people out there that are not surprised by this, Spectre in particular, maybe even you, Bubba Joe, but the slew of cancellations that we have seen out of Paramount is troubling for a Trek fan and 100% driven by Skydance. The show was canceled. All right, and this is an official statement. This is an official statement here. The show was wrapped due to behind-the-scenes negotiations between Paramount and Skydance. The cancellation of Star Trek Lower Decks, driven by finances, despite being a relatively inexpensive animated series, Paramount Plus is reacting to the changes in the streaming model forced by Paramount Studios' sale to Skydance, in that Skydance has forced the streamer to trim their bottom line by more than 25%. In expenses. And unfortunately, we're seeing cancellations across the board. We've seen Discovery that has been canceled. We've now seen Lower Decks. We've seen Prodigy sold off. This all being driven from a business model or a merger deal with Paramount and Skydance. Bubba, that worries me about the future of the Star Trek franchise.
So let's be clear. So Discovery wasn't so much canceled as ended. And I like to think that Lower Decks is in a similar vein. While I loved Lower Decks, don't get me wrong, I would have loved more seasons of Lower Decks, just like I loved more seasons of Futurama. Once it ended and it came back, and it ended and it came back. Discovery and Lower Decks ended. Like, it's not that we got halfway through the season and they go, oh, and this is going to be the last season. It's not like they said we're going to do 5 seasons. They renewed it for 2 more seasons, and then they said this is going to be it, and they gave Lower Decks a satisfying conclusion, as they did Discovery. So there's a difference in between canceling a show and a show ending. And I think that it's important to note that both of those shows, in my opinion, ended, as opposed to halfway through a season, seeing declining ratings or whatever. Nope, we're going to cancel it. And that's the difference in the nomenclature, in my opinion. And I think that anyone who is saying that these shows were canceled, as opposed to these shows having been scheduled to end, is trying to stir up some controversy.
Well, I can see that point, and I agree with you that they were both ended well. The staffs did a great job with what they were given. But I'll have you know, and I know that we've talked about this. Matt Header says it wasn't a Firefly situation. I'm going to argue that Discovery was. Discovery was shot, done in production. They did a callback to film that last future scene with Sonequa Martin Green and David Ajala. That was never shot. They brought that back in order to film the ending. So, Bubba, when they're going through their season 5, which arguably was one of their best seasons, all right, their season 5 with Maul and Locke, one of the greatest stories, probably the best villain that Discovery had in its entire 5 years, the best villain pair there that they had in their entire 5 years, that they shot that not thinking that was their final season. They actually got a call back. So I agree that it was ended well because they were given that opportunity, but it certainly wasn't a planned ending to that show, at least not with the advance notice of an entire season.
So I'll have to do a little research, because I do recall after they picked it up in season 3 that they announced that it was going to go for only 2 more seasons. That was years ago. So that decision was already made. Now, whether someone was revisiting that and where they were opening the door, or they were thinking maybe that they would, but I remember early on at right around season 3 pickup, when they said it's going to go for 2 more seasons and stop.
You think that
I remember that being a legitimate thing.
Well, and maybe it was. Maybe they were interested or trying to fight for an extra season. But I do know, in conversations, and I've listened, even with Sonequa's interview on the Decon Chamber with Connor and Dominic, she had specifically talked about, hey, this is, we were shooting season 5 in anticipation of a season 6. Matt Hatter says Discovery really had the best writing in the last season, and maybe even weak up until that point. I'm not going to say it was weak, but I do find that season 5 storyline, Bubba Joe, was phenomenal. And so that made it more disappointing, right? Discovery has been one of the more controversial ones, especially amongst the fan base, right? Just because of how progressive it was and how it had stepped away from some of the more traditional social commentary. They really pushed the envelope and made it somewhat controversial in the grand scheme of things, making them kind of a very unique and a challenged property that will, by the way, in time, just like Deep Space Nine, will be remembered very, very fondly.
So you and I could talk about Discovery for a long time. I think that there are people that were coming to Star Trek or had seen little bits of Star Trek, didn't realize that the Star Trek universe has always been socially forward.
Mm-hmm.
And they were unprepared for a gay doctor and a gay engineer. They were unprepared for some of the relationships that were on there. And they took that to say Trek, and this was right when, woke was evidently going to be, the worst thing ever. And I don't want to get into what that represents or anything, but Star Trek has always
for sure been
socially forward, at its forefront of trying to address these issues, trying to point out some of the absurdity in some of our thoughts in terms of, a person that was half black and half white, a black person kissing a non-black person. I mean, They have always pushed the limit of all of that. Star Trek has always been at the forefront of all of that. And yes, we got phasers and we got torpedoes and we're blowing up ships and there's action and that's cool. But Star Trek has always been at the absolute forefront. And anyone who thinks that Star Trek has become woke hasn't been paying attention for very long.
Do you think that a lot of that commentary...
the one thing that I want to say that that was, I'll say, a jarring Star Trek fandom change in Discovery was what they did to the Klingons in season 1.
Yeah.
And how they changed their look and they changed their ships and they changed kind of a lot of their personality. And it was still, kind of hearkening to something about Klingons, but they were really trying to rewrite Klingon history with Discovery. And, you can do things like that, but the fans didn't really respond well to it and they didn't really like it. And that was a big thing that the fans really latched onto, which then, of course, led to other people latching on to the social forwardness and saying, oh, well, everyone hates Star Trek. It's like everyone hates Discovery. And I don't think that was really the case. But I do think that there were significant things early on in Discovery that they were taking, the directors and writers and showrunners were taking a shot at and missed and had to roll back. Right. And they had to then step back and kind of step back into what Star Trek is. And that's fine. Right. They acknowledged that. And then we got to this thing that they jumped into the future and they did these things. And so Discovery eventually kind of wrapped itself into, and by the 5th season was really a core Star Trek show. But I am going to take a little bit of an umbrage with you. I don't think there's ever been a better villain in Discovery than Giorgio.
Well, is she a villain? I mean, there's that conversation, all right? She ends up being she's the anti-hero, if you will, or the anti-villain. I mean, is she, whatever that terminology is, she's a baddie, but she's a good baddie. I don't know. We'll talk about that. And we've talked about that a little bit when Section 31.
We should. I mean, we really should kind of step into what Lower Decks represented, right? Because you and I, we could do an hour or 2 or 3 or 6 or 12 on Discovery.
We could, and actually, I find a really good segue there. You had mentioned the fact that Discovery made maybe a misstep or two when it came to what they were trying to do with the Klingons, and the fans, some fans, I even remember falling into this trap myself. I talked to you. I'm like, oh, they decanonized Discovery. Lower Decks has eliminated from Discovery from canon. I've done a tremendous amount of research on this. I've been reading all this. And I actually found a really good synopsis from a Star Trek writer, and I wanted to kind of share this with you a little bit because there has been a lot of controversy. I'm here to tell you definitively from the studios of Paramount Plus and the Star Trek universe, Discovery has not been stricken from canon. As a matter of fact, here is the official explanation from inside Paramount Studios. Some believe that the joke in Lower Decks series finale removed Discovery from the Prime Universe canon. Not only is this not the case, and Bubba Joe, I'm going to tie back into what you had just said a second ago. Not only is this not the case, but it reveals how bad faith critique of the debut series in Star Trek's Third Wave is based in misunderstanding of the rules of the universe. The infinite variance in the Star Trek multiverse could be drastically different from the Prime Universe. We've got the Kelvin reboot in the other films. There's alternate reality created by temporal incursion from the Prime Universe. We've got the mirror universe. We've got all this other stuff. In Lower Decks season finale, we even or not the season finale, but we even see. As an example, and they drew this example for me. They drew this example saying that Lily Sloan made an appearance, Bubba Joe, in Lower Decks. Now, for those of you who don't remember Lily Sloan was the Star Trek First Contact character, the assistant to the developer or the creator of the warp drive, Zefram Cochrane. Okay. However, her ship in her
you were looking
universe.
for the name.
Yeah, thank you. In her universe, in this multiverse or this alternate timeline or alternate universe, she didn't create the warp drive. They didn't work on warp drive at all. In this episode of Lower Decks, Lily Sloan instead created this engine that could cross through multiverses. Okay, so when we look at the original series Klingons, then the TNG Klingons, and then the Discovery Klingons, and then we see this Lower Decks gag, all right? The official statement from Paramount Studios is, indeed, it was just that. As a matter of fact, in true Lower Decks fashion, Bubba Joe, Lower Decks Klingon gag was just that. A joking reference at the failed attempt at modernizing the series' most iconic villains. It has absolutely no bearing on Discovery's place in Star Trek canon, end quote. Bubba, you just talked about that a second ago, in which they did have a misstep in trying to recreate the Klingons. The Lower Decks writers were actually making fun of that comment. Or making fun of that attempt, right?
And, that's an important, so, I mean, Lower Decks this season also has another one where we talk about the green versus blue.
The Orions.
What can
Yeah.
the Orions, yes.
The Orions had a green versus
so we
blue
have, We
war.
have blue Orions, we have green Orions, and they made fun. They drew a little box around it and made some fun out of it. And, it's okay to reinvent what Star Trek is in terms of the technical nature of Star Trek, right? But if you take a shot and you miss, and the fans are really like, no, I'm not okay with this, then you got to rethink what you're going to do. And I think Discovery did a very successful job of backing away from that reinvention of Klingons and getting back into what is Star Trek. And they had a 5-season run, which is, to say that's unsuccessful would imply that, Enterprise was just as unsuccessful, right? The fact that we got a 5-season run of Lower Decks is like, we got a 5-season run. 10 episodes, yes, but I would have preferred more, yes, but because I love Lower Decks, and I think you and I are going to agree on the quality of Lower Decks. But I think it's important to realize that not all shows are going to go on forever.
Yeah. And as much as we as fans would love for that to happen, it's obviously just impossible. All right. You've got you look at the growing popularity of this particular cast, and I thought that this was actually a really, really good point that you kind of bring up. Shows can't last forever. You look at Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid's stock is skyrocketing. He's done some other stuff. He's appearing in more and more movies, television shows. He did sit down in San Diego Comic-Con. Did you get to see this panel, by the way? Where
Yes.
It was him, Tawny, I think, was there, Noel Wells, and Eugene Cordero. They all appeared together and did a talk about, of course, at that time, it was prior to the 5th season, so they were avoiding some spoilers and things like that. But talking about their future, talking about the future of Lower Decks. Even they, Bubba Joe, which I thought was... See, you held this information on me last time we were talking about this, and we're talking about whether or not they can do something in the future. You knew that at San Diego Comic-Con they had actually already expressed their desire to do something else, and possibly even in live action. We know that Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome already did. Eugene Cordero and Noel Wells both agreed that they would love to do something in a live action experience.
And I think they said that on the Will Wheaton post his show that he does after each episode.
The Ready Room.
He had all 4 of them on there, and the Ready Room, and they had said something along those lines as well. No, I think that. So let's. Do you want to jump right to the finale and talk about where Lower Decks goes, or do you want to go through the season and just kind of highlight how do you want to run this, DJ?
Well, I would like to
I have some thoughts on what the future of Lower Decks could look like, and why I think it's not ended, but it's probably over, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that we'll get to that. I would like to do kind of a run through of the season. So obviously at this point, there are potentially spoilers. So if you have not watched all of Lower Decks, then I encourage you to maybe hit pause on this one right now and go get yourself caught up as we do talk about not only some of the in-episode arcs, I think, but the seasonal arc. I think the writing this season, Bubba Joe, was... I say noticeably different. It was still the Lower Decks we love. It was still great writing, very humorous stuff. Mike McMahon is brilliant. All right, just absolutely phenomenal writing. And the writers' room that he ran was great. But did you know this? Aside from Mike, that
you have a visitor.
I know. I see that. Hey, what's up, buddy? Oliver, is that a s'more? He just brought me a s'more, but that doesn't look cooked. Did you cook it? Well, I don't have
Did you want him to play with fire?
Well, no, obviously I don't want you to play with fire. Is that a non-melty s'more here?
Why did you not start a campfire and cook my s'more?
Wait a second here. Let's take a. So that is a completely unmelted s'more, which is great. That's fine because you should be playing with fire. What prompted you to make s'mores that are raw and cold?
Because I'm not allowed to play with fire.
No, you hear that? He's not allowed to play with fire. Yeah.
That's why I make my own s'mores.
That's why he makes his own s'mores. All right, very good.
That's right.
You want to do some Chubby Bunny?
I'm gonna go grab the marshmallows.
Go grab the marshmallows. Oh, yeah, he'll get some Chubby Bunny time. All right, so fun fact for you, Bubba Joe. Season 5 of Lower Decks was the first time that the show had a completely new writing staff, with the exception of Mike McMahon as the showrunner, which he was, so that technically doesn't make him a writer. Yeah. The staff, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, but it was an entirely new writing staff in season 5. Now,
You're sure about this?
I mean, I'm as sure as the research that I'm doing.
So
Okay.
I'm looking at season 4. Aaron Burdett did episode 2, did episode 1 here. Colin Crawford did episode 6 in season 4, did episode 8 here. I think you are misinformed.
Well, so here are your credited writers: Aaron Burdett, Keith Fogelsong, Stephanie Ritter, Diana Tay, Mae Darman, Aaron Burdett again, Andrew Muth, Colin Crawford, Lauren McGuire, and then Mike McMahon did the series finale.
Yes.
Those are
so Mike
not
is
repeats.
obviously not new.
No.
Aaron Burdett is not new. Colin Crawford is not new.
Oh,
so,
then I stand corrected.
Like half of them were not new.
Okay, stand corrected. What is Jiminy Christmas? That Mike, is it McMahon? Wait, is it McMahon? Like the wrestler? Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? Okay, maybe so. Clearly, some of the show prep, I did miss the mark here on this a little bit because I was going through some fun facts. This is one that I found was the one on the writing staff. But you know what? That would be consistent, Bubba Joe, that they were some of the same writers, because I felt really, really good. I felt that Lower Decks was very familiar throughout all of season 5. But I did notice a new element. All right, I noticed a new element in season 5 that I think that they had done good with up until season 5, but we talk about Deep Space Nine. We talk about TNG, even in some of the later seasons, how they became serialized, but were still episodic. All right. And I feel like Lower Decks in its 5th season was the perfect combination of a serialized show with episodic format, because you had the multiverse theme. All right. That was very much the theme that was present all throughout season 5, was the multiverse theme. But every single show still had a theme, still had their episodic format. And not only that, Bubba, but with a plot and a secondary plot. You know, there was always more than one story happening in every single episode. I thought that was a clear breakthrough from the writers team, and was very, very interesting. It kept me very, very excited for the next piece of this, because there was still a story going on in the back.
So I want to, okay. So I agree that there was definitely this serialized, to the season. That was absolutely a thing. But there was an episode that really stood out, and I think you and I talked about it when it aired, and I'm like, did I miss something? And then eventually the episode got to the point. Maybe this was even the episode that aired while I was at your house. I don't remember. Actually, I think it was the Best Exotic Nanite Hotel. I'm pretty sure that's the right one.
Yeah.
That is, let's see here. Yes.
Trying to find which episode that was. That was
that is where Jennifer shows up again.
That's right. Yeah, they they were pretending to still be. This was what we saw.
You and I were watching it together at your house, and we're like, we knew she was around, and if you play the Lower Decks mobile game that is fun, although I've stopped playing.
Wait, what?
So it had a issue where the update corrupted it, and the solution was to uninstall and reinstall, and I did that, and it lost my whole thing. And I'm like, I've spent so much time and money collecting a lot of these characters. I have no interest in doing it again, and some of them I would never get back because they were limited time things.
Wait,
so I
they
just
didn't.
Said, nope, I'm out.
They couldn't fix it.
No, they couldn't fix it.
Oh wow!
I was very sad.
Yikes.
But anyway, so she's like
Yikes.
a major character in that game. But I'm like, have I missed something? And it's like they took it just a little bit too far, in my opinion, because you needed to know they were in a relationship. You needed to know that it kind of ended badly, not badly, but it ended abruptly, in a very Mariner way, which was classic, which was funny.
Yep.
But it carried on the joke too long, in my opinion, and it's not like they carried it on for 3 episodes too long. It just, most of the episode was very abrupt to me, and you were trying to catch up. And if you didn't have that foreknowledge, then the episode made no sense at all, right? So I just think that episode, and this is absolutely nitpicking, it fell short of the standard I have for Lower Decks. I think that a majority of the 50 episodes of Lower Decks are like 8.5 or better. And this one was probably like a 7 or a little lower, right? It in comparison to everything else we've been exposed to and been accepting of in Lower Decks, this one just fell short, in my opinion.
It's interesting that you say that, because I thought that the writers did a decent job identifying very early in that episode, like, Tendi, like, isn't that Jennifer your ex-girlfriend? Yeah, I thought we broke up. Well, we did. And then Mariner kind of spills the beans that they never did actually break up. So I don't know. I mean, that was a good 20, 30 seconds worth of dialogue right there that I felt like kind of did set that up. And especially for anybody who's been through an awkward breakup, I felt like that was actually something that rang really, really true. And really, really familiar as far as that storyline. I thought that was a great storyline.
Out of curiosity, has there ever been a non-awkward breakup?
Probably not, which is probably why it was a great storyline, to be honest with you. But that was the 3rd episode of the season. As far as the background, the seasonal arc you had not even yet right here started to explore like this whole multiverse thing. As a matter of fact, the other storyline in
Yes,
that
you did.
episode, the other storyline in that episode
Episode one of the season kicks off the
was
multiverse.
the parallel universe. Yeah, that was with Becky Freeman, right? Yeah, the Prime Mariner and the Lieutenant, it was Becky, right? Because I remember Tawny Newsome actually having some commentary about the fact that she got to play evil Becky. So it was that was in the first episode, and what I meant to say was that particular episode, the Best Exotic Nanite Hotel, did not have the overarching piece. So what I felt familiar about that was in some episodes of some of the best series, TNG and DS9. Some of these were purely episodic, or even what the cast would refer to as a canned episode, that were episodic in nature that could stand apart, but then there was still those other episodes that had that overarching kind of thing. Yes, you're right. Dos Cerritos, episode 1, season 5, that started with the parallel universe. But then you look at episode 2. Episode 2 had nothing regarding the parallel universe. Episode 3, same thing. Even episode 4, not yet. It wasn't until episode 5, which was the episode on Starbase 80, where you started to kind of dabble back in to a little bit of a parallel universe. And even that was not dealing with the parallel universe. That was Captain Freeman at that point learning about her doppelganger, learning about an alternate universe Freeman, who was assigned to Starbase 80 for a series of missteps, and she became obsessed with avoiding that. And that was basically out of that pad. If I'm not mistaken, Boimler had recovered a pad with some personal logs or something like that. They got information.
Tidbits of that all throughout the season, even before this Starbase 80 episode.
I don't know, man. All right, so let's rehash a couple of these. You had the Best Exotic Nanite Hotel, nothing really there, other than Boimler. Now, I will say that an overarching character development of Boimler was that he was always reading that pad. He was always trying to be.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
he was always trying to be the better Boimler.
To that pad, right?
Yeah.
And that he was. So let me ask you a question, right? So let's just pick your brain here for a second. Why do you think he took it?
What, Boimler?
Yeah.
Dude,
what was the purpose?
Because Boimler has this obsessive compulsive nature at becoming a captain. He's going to do whatever it takes. He is looking at the success of his doppelganger. He's looking at even the success of his transporter clone, who's serving with Captain Riker now. He's looking at these guys and comparing them to himself and comparing his career path to himself and realizing that they have sufficiencies where he feels he has a deficiency. I think he took that pad to study the logs, to figure out what he could do better. Same thing as what Captain Freeman did in Starbase 80.
So I think that it is more fundamental than that. And obviously, Boimler wants to be a captain. That is, that was talked about very early on in the whole show, right? Early on. But I think it's more fundamental than that. And that Boimler saw in his doppelgangers, whether it be the one with Riker or this one, he saw that these personas of him belong. And if you look at this as Boimler is trying to fit in, not become a captain. Yes, that's true. But he wants to be normal. And whatever normal means to him, he wants to represent some normalcy. He wants to not be the guy who stands out with the purple hair. He wants to be someone that when you look at him, he's a Starfleet officer, he's dependable, and that's what he saw when he encountered with his doppelgangers, and he's just trying to be normal. And at the end of the show, when we get to this, and, spoiler alert again, because all of this is spoilers, and him and Mariner are both made first officers, realizes that the pad didn't matter and that he's able to belong and people are able to look past the goofiness that he feels inside and the I'm different that he feels inside, and it doesn't matter, and he's dependable and people rely on him, and the pad never mattered in the first place. But he didn't have that self-confidence to begin with, and that's why he took the pad. He was in a search for self-confidence.
I would
in
agree
my
with
opinion.
that. Yeah, no, I 1,000% agree with that. The thing is, that was his perspective. But even that from Mariner, from Rutherford, from Tendi, and from the viewer, we always saw, like, and I think that was another social element of this show, Bubba Joe, was that of suffering from a lack of self-esteem, self-confidence, because we always saw the rest of the cast treat him with that respect and that confidence. Even Ransom, all right, who consistently chose him for missions. There was an episode where he felt like Ransom was picking him for all the crappy missions because he was expendable. And as it turns out, it was simply because Ransom absolutely valued his experience on these away teams. He was his first pick. We always saw that. Ransom always saw that. Even Captain Freeman sees that in him. He was, and I think that was maybe a little bit more of a subliminal message, a subliminal social message there a little bit, but he always struggled with self-esteem. And I think the writers did a very, very good job of making sure that self-esteem issue was never actually truly founded, but actually symptomatic of the condition, the psychiatric or the psychology of poor self-esteem, in which the other characters were boosting him up, were loving on him, were helping him find his way, even though he was struggling in that in his own head.
Right. And just like all of Star Trek, while this one is not one that is controversial, this is a huge societal issue
For sure.
of people lacking self-confidence or people having what is often referred to as imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a huge societal issue that is plaguing people these days, whether it because of the digital nature of interaction or, people that have grew up during the lockdown that they weren't able, like, this is a big deal where people are fighting with this. I don't belong. I don't measure up. And this was a social issue that carried throughout the entire season and repeatedly showed that your belief that you're not good enough or your belief that you're not measuring up enough is nonsense, and that people can show that they have faith in you and that you need to be able to accept that and accept who you are and not try to be what you think might be more successful.
Absolutely. Iron Chef, thank you for the raid in. Appreciate that. Welcome and good afternoon to you. I think, Bubba, you're right on with that, and something that the writers did, they did phenomenally, coming to a head in episode 9. It was Fissure Quest, and here we were actually introduced to the actual clone, all right? Not an alternate universe, but the William Boimler, the clone that was serving with Captain Riker, and if I'm not mistaken, up until this point, Bubba Joe, was believed to be dead. Didn't they lead us to believe, and I don't remember this specifically, but I'm pretty sure his appearance on the Anaximander was a surprise, right? Didn't we believe he had an axe? Yes, because Boimler learned of his death. Boimler had learned of his death via communication. It rocked his world. Earlier in the season. I remember that now. It had completely destroyed him earlier in the show. And he was suffering a lot of, again, more self-doubt. Might have even been a part of this self-esteem issue, seeing his clone fail, right? Juwala says, we saw Section 31 recruit him. He was revived in Season 3 as a teaser. We knew he wasn't dead, but the crew didn't. Fair enough. I'm having trouble remembering. If that was in Season 3, I barely remember what I had for breakfast. That being said, I do remember that theme. I remember that episode where he learned of that. We were reintroduced. And this is kind of where it all came to a head. We saw William Boimler actually, in his own way, suffering from a what do you say? I don't want to say a meaningless existence, but he felt very frustrated. He felt like he was on a never-ending task to try to fix something or tackle some issue that he thought he was never going to be able to get out of until all of a sudden everything kind of comes to a head in Season 9 and 10. You saw that he was really, really struggling with his existence as well. It seems that Boimler had always kind of been kind of a complicated character, and even from the clone, kind of demonstrated some of the similarities between these two characters, even though outwardly they were very, very different. At their core, in their mind, in their persona, they still had a lot of the same concerns. So you move up into Fissure Quest, Bubba Joe, episode 9, where we learn he is the Section 31 captain of the Anaximander, and he has been tasked with fixing the fissures that have been caused in the multiverse. Of course, at this time, we don't know what the cause of that is, even though I gave you the spoiler a few minutes ago. We don't know what the cause of that is. He's literally actually hunting. And we're introduced to his wayward crew, which actually ended up being a lot of fun, Bubba Joe. We had another mirror copy, a parallel universe of Beckett Mariner. She was an engineer. And then we saw Harry Kim. All right, which was very, very exciting for a lot of Voyager fans. Even Garrett Wong has commented about how excited he was. I saw in that Comic-Con panel, Bubba Joe, at San Diego, they had talked about filming or had talked about their communications with Garrett as he was really excited. He got the call. He was coming in to do the voice thing. He was super excited. They kept this thing under wraps for a very, very long time. We saw the introduction of Harry Kim and the newly pipped 2-Pip Kim, as he is now. Garrett has now kind of coined himself as 2-Pip Kim. That came in episode 9. Tell us a little bit about this.
2-Pip Kim.
The singular. There's only one in all of the universes. The infinite number of Kims, there was one 2-Pip Kim. Tell me a little bit about episode 9, Bubba Joe, and how that started to wrap together the entire Lower Deck story for you.
Well, so I actually liked episode 9 for the inside nature of it more than how it advanced the story. Right.
Okay. Fan
the 2-Pip
service.
Kim, Garrick and the Doctor, switching. I liked all of those kind of inside jokes to, alternate realities of characters we're familiar with, right? And I think that when Lower Decks is at its best, they are giving us animated versions of characters that we love, or animated versions of alternate versions of the characters that we love. And I think that's where Lower Decks is always its best, because they have the freedom to do whatever they want, right, in animation that you could never get away with in live action.
For sure.
Right? And so the story, I felt, was like, okay, so they've got this solution. They know what they're going to try and do. I just, it was a good and fun episode. I did not like, doesn't mean it was bad, I did not like the evil Kims.
I was taken aback by that at the very beginning. But for the record, there wasn't evil Kims. It was literally only the 2-Pip Kim, which I felt like was actually super, super deep cut. Okay? I felt like that
You have to be evil to get ahead? Is that the deep cut?
No, I feel the deep cut is...
Because that's what I got from it.
No.
You don't get promoted unless you're evil.
No, I don't feel like that was it at all. I felt like that was... all right, and I'm sorry to Garrett. I'm sorry to Harry Kim. I feel like that was the universe's affirmation that he was always meant to be an ensign. All right, I feel like that one aberration, Bubba Joe, that one lieutenant, that one version of Harry Kim who got ahead ended up being a psychopath. I felt like to the fans, that was affirmation that Voyager didn't make a mistake, that Janeway didn't make a mistake, that Starfleet Command didn't make a mistake, that Harry Kim was always at his best as an ensign. Rank be damned. He was a better officer there. And obviously I'm not saying that this was some deep philosophical thinking, all right, or whatever. I'm just saying, like, the one Kim in all of the multiverse that got promoted, and he was a psychopath. I thought that was a funnier line to me than it was, you've got to be evil to get ahead. I just felt like, this was affirmation for Garrett Wong's character.
Potato.
Maybe so. One of the other cameos that I absolutely loved in episode 9 was the return of Jeline Blaylock, who has never appeared in any other. Am I saying that name right? Sorry, forgive me.
You are.
Yeah, Jolene Blalock. The first time T'Pol has been reintroduced to the Star Trek universe literally since Star Trek Enterprise. She doesn't typically do conventions. She doesn't do a lot of public appearance. I thought it was absolutely wonderful, a huge fan service moment. If I can just take a small moment just to thank Jolene Blalock for bringing back that character. I thought that was a wonderful, wonderful fan service moment. And I think that is because I am so appreciative of what Star Trek Enterprise provided to the Star Trek universe. I feel like they are still kind of vastly underappreciated, although as time goes on, we are seeing more of a cult classic kind of following for Star Trek Enterprise. But I think that it's good for Enterprise to get that kind of recognition, to get that kind of callback. It was really, really nice to see Jolene Blalock in there. I would love to see more.
I didn't even realize that it was her.
Yes, and it was actually her. T'Pol was there, and I think it's great because I don't think you're ever going to see. I mean, I would love, by the way, but I don't think you're ever going to see Jonathan Archer again. I think that is kind of like a Benjamin Sisko kind of captain. I don't think you're going to see that again. And so the more that we can get back from some of these other series, I feel like it would be really, really nice. That episode, it reminded me a little bit, Bubba Joe. It reminded me a little bit of Kobayashi Maru when we had all those cameos back all the way. That was in Prodigy. All right, the Kobayashi Maru episode in Prodigy. It reminded me a little bit of that with all those cameos and all that fan service and all those feelings of nostalgia. I felt that in episode 9.
Yeah, agreed.
Juwala says,
so let's talk about episode 10.
Bubba Joe and Juwala having an argument in chat. I see this now. Enterprise Season 4 is among the best of all Trek seasons. I'll die on that hill. Bubba Joe says you might die alone. You might die alone on that hill. I'm not entirely sure. We could talk about Enterprise another time. I feel like that is a series, Bubba Joe, that I want to do a walkthrough on.
Unlike us both glowing, saying all these amazing things about Lower Decks, I think you and I are going to think very differently about Enterprise.
I think it would be great. I like Enterprise more today than I did when I watched it a long time ago. You know, I watched it again.
You're more into softcore corn today than you were when you watched it originally?
Softcore corn? Is that what you... Listen, there's a whole podcast named after that decon chamber. That decon chamber is famous. Okay? It's like, yeah, it's a great scene. Anyway, episode 10. Episode 10, Lower Decks. All right, the series finale, written by Mike McMahon. I'm saying it correct now. Sorry about that. Written by Obviously. Mike McMahon.
Yes.
He was the showrunner. He was the chief head honcho for this entire project. He created the series way back when. He's been there all 5 years. This was their last send off. This episode right here, Bubba Joe, incorporated so many of the things that I love about Trek. It had the science, it had the crisis, it had the team coming together to solve problems. As a matter of fact, the most perfect part of episode 10 was actually the last 60 seconds of episode 9. When William Boimler
okay, please.
Right here, it shows the belief and the core and the faith that you have to have in the Star Trek universe. I'll remind you, in the end of season 9, or the end of episode 9, they've got this explosion. Lily Sloan's drive, the Rift creator, this is when they were fighting the evil Harry Kim. All right? The ship explodes. Harry Kim's damaged ship explodes, creating an energy wave that threatens to destroy the multiverse because it happened on the edge of one of those rifts. William Boimler sacrifices the Anaximander and directs the wave. It's going to destroy a universe. That wave, that energy is going to destroy a universe. Out of the multi-universe, one universe will not survive. William Boimler directs it back to his own prime timeline, our prime timeline with the prime Cerritos and the prime crew. William Boimler directs the wave to his own universe, trusting that his counterpart and their friends on the Cerritos will find a solution in time. And again, coming back to that whole thing with Brad Boimler you were talking about earlier, more people showing more faith in the abilities that Brad Boimler had. That was in the last seconds of episode 9, which set up episode 10 for me. And I thought that was an emotional moment for me when I'm watching this show. This is a comedy. You're not supposed to cry in a comedy, but you can. All right? That was a very emotional, very Star Trek moment for me, Bubba Joe, heading into the series finale, which I feel like this is probably one of the best series finales that we've been treated to be perfectly honest with you. I thought it was fantastic. So thought it was really good. You didn't like how I felt like that was a touching moment.
Well, it is okay, but we're talking about the series finale of Voyager, where they destroy
Dude,
the Borg and the armor and
fine.
That was the season finale of Deep Space Nine, like Cisco sacrificing.
I'm not saying the best. I'm saying it's up there. And I'll be honest with you. I was not a fan of the last 5 to 10 minutes of the Voyager series finale. I think that 2-part episode, okay, like episode 23, episode 24, whatever it was, I felt like that was fine. I was not a fan of the last 10, 15 minutes of Voyager series finale. I thought it was incredibly rushed. I thought it was rushed. I think it didn't do the cast any favors. It didn't do the story any favors. It was rushed. And then boom, bam, big blow up, and now we're back at Earth. Yay. All right. I did not appreciate that. I needed more.
Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, there is a difference there, is that you liked Voyager. Right.
Yes.
There's a difference between you and me.
You don't get to pass
judgment.
Liked
Voyager.
No.
I did not.
You don't get to pass judgment on the series finale if you didn't even like the show. Put on clothes, dude.
No. So the Voyager series finale was an epic episode of Star Trek. Whether you liked the series or didn't like the series. Now, if you loved the series, I can understand that you may feel that there were things that were rushed. But for me, watching it as a reluctant Star Trek fanatic, right? And I want more Star Trek, and this is the only Star Trek I've got. It's the only thing out there. And it was a really, really good episode of Star Trek. And I can understand that you may have some feelings of you wanted, 62 hours talking about, the Chakotay 7 love connection. But
that was also underdeveloped. That whole season was rushed, man. Yeah, that was incredibly awkward. The whole thing with 7 of 9 and Chakotay was stupidly awkward because they didn't give it time to grow.
Now let's take a step back, okay? Because it might sound like I'm being overly critical of the season finale of Lower Decks, and I don't mean to be. I just think that Star Trek has made an art of doing epic, fantastic series finales. Discovery's is good. TNG's is good. Deep Space Nine is good.
Yeah.
Voyager is good. Basically, the only one that misses is Enterprise.
Okay. And by the way, I'm not saying that Lower Decks is the best ever. I'm saying
you did say no. It's
one of the best.
Let's roll back the tape.
One of the best. I didn't say the best. I said one of the best. And to further enforce your point, I will say that it did meet the expectation of an epic series finale.
Yes, absolutely. This was a fantastic. It was, in my opinion, the absolute best ending to the series. Now, I made a statement early on that that may have puzzled you, and because you would like to see the show go on, like you would see it. Hey, I want to see more of these, and I don't disagree with you on that regard. Lower Decks, though, has ended. And I think it has ended appropriately. And it has done so because the story wrapped up these 4 characters' existence in being lower decks officers,
That's correct. Yeah.
right? None of them are lower decks officers anymore. Okay. And you can say 5 with Talin, but none of them are lower decks officers anymore. They are front and center of what is going to happen on the Cerritos. They are now the people they used to make fun of as lower decks officers.
For sure.
Okay. Does that mean that we're never going to see Boimler or Mariner or Tendi ever again? No. But Lower Decks as a show has ended. Now, does that mean we could not get another animated show about these characters or a live action show about these characters? Absolutely not. I think we can, and I think we should. I think there should be more exploration, whether it is. Hang on a second. I am.
Bless you, good sir.
Still getting over the manamana. So but the essence of Lower Decks was the lower level people rebelling or screwing around or doing things their own way or whatever you want to encompass Lower Decks to exist versus the people that were up and making the decisions. That show has come to an end, right?
Sure.
I would love to see these characters exist in the Star Trek universe, either as references or cameos or getting their own show. But as you pointed out, getting their show is going to be tough. Getting their own show would be difficult because these actors and actresses, some of them are becoming very busy, right? And could become very expensive. But that doesn't mean that we can't get cameos. It doesn't mean we can't get bits and references to what Lower Decks represents, what the Cerritos, I should say, represents to Star Trek. And I think that is one of the, if not, well, definitely not the, but one of the more important ships in the Star Trek universe.
I would agree with a lot of that. I think that the way that they wrapped up this series does leave the opportunity for more. And while I do acknowledge the fans wanting more Lower Decks, we've loved these characters. And not only that, but we've loved this style of storytelling. They did good. Everyone was scared of the cartoon when it started, Bubba Joe. They were even judgmental about it. All right. But
let's not sugarcoat it. There are still people who do not like the cartoon.
That's true. All right. But they did a remarkable job kind of overcoming and this becoming an actual beloved canon series. Okay. So very, very cool that this was such a good show that it overcame all odds. When we look at episode 10, all right, we see this crew, as Bubba mentions, graduate, become the next set of officers that they should all be. We see that William Boimler sacrificed himself. He's a hero. He's got a statue now. We see Mariner and Boimler become first officers to Captain Jack Ransom. All right. They both become first officers to Captain Jack Ransom, who is unable to decide between the skills that both of them give. Again, coming back and giving full circle now to how he has always believed in both of them. We always believed that Ransom was kind of this meathead, and he is, okay? But beneath that stupid exterior, Bubba Joe, he might be one of the more brilliant commanding officers when it comes to motivating people. When it came to getting the evaluations, to motivating them and pushing them to what they could be, he was actually kind of good at that. Whether by accident or not, he was good at that.
I think Ransom's story came full circle and developed him as a character in Upper Decks.
Yeah, that was actually episode 8, right as we were getting ready to finish there, getting ready to wrap this thing up, and he did kind of become.
And as I was watching that episode, I was mad. right?
Really?
Because I'm like, there are only 3 episodes left. There are only 3 episodes, and I want my characters. We've dismissed these Upper Decks characters for so long. I want my Lower Decks characters, right? Because I knew we only have 3 episodes left. Why are we spending an episode on this? And Upper Decks, I think, cemented what needed to be cemented was that Jack Ransom is not this aloof goofball that he appears, and that there's actually a plan, and there's actually a strategy, and he's actually a good first officer, and in a way going to be able to become captain, which makes that delivery in episode 10 so much more powerful. Because without the Upper Decks episode, all we have is Jack Ransom, the screw off, right? We have Jack Ransom, the guy who doesn't seem to get it, and doesn't he's a Lower Decks first officer, right? He's this, and that's the way he's been played, right? But to have that arc in that episode kind of wraps it all up, that he's not that guy, that he actually has a different persona, that he's trying to build these characters, trying to build these younger officers up, and that he has a plan, and it's not just that he wants them to screw around, right?
Yeah. The best teachers, the best professors are always those with a slightly unorthodox approach. He, in the Upper Decks episode number 8, literally makes himself the target of a ton of hostility and anger in an effort to unite these teams. If I'm not mistaken, Bubba, and you'll have to remind me, wasn't this like the Delta shifters and the Beta shifters and the Alpha shifters in this particular episode that have always kind of resented each other? But it was time. It was time for these crews to not be shifters, but to become a crew. And Ransom made that happen. So then, as you mentioned, it gives that payoff in episode 10 that much more when he's granted the captaincy, because Captain Freeman at that moment is tapped for a bigger mission. It was like the graduation for this entire crew. The characters, even the Upper Deckers that we know and love, have created opportunities from their success to take on other assignments. All right. And now that we've got this whole new exploration, and this is why I agree with Bubba that we could see more. All of these characters, not a single character has said that they're not willing to come back in some form or fashion. We now have just kind of like what Marvel has done with the multiverse, Star Trek has successfully done. And I feel like they have really pushed towards that here in the last year or two. I think Lower Decks was a leading area of that, but you're seeing more with the Mirror Universe. You're seeing more now, Section 31 and Terran Empire and all this stuff. You're seeing them explore the multiverse a little bit more, kind of like how Marvel has done with their big multiverse. But now they've incorporated this entire story. Freeman and Admiral Freeman, her husband, are now overseeing this new mission to explore the multiverse. And they're doing it, ironically, full circle, from Starbase 80, which, again, is a callback to one of the previous episodes where Freeman learns of her assignment to Starbase 80 and automatically assumes it is a terrible thing. And here we find that this is a grand assignment.
I don't think that Starbase 80 is only referenced in this season. I think it calls back to previous seasons.
Oh, for sure.
And
it
yes,
does.
we get the Starbase 80 episode in this season to kind of show kind of what Starbase 80 is, but it absolutely is a callback to this, purgatory that no one wants to go to.
Yeah. Starbase 80 has been known. They've explored it a lot in Lower Decks on various episodes, but Starbase 80 has actually been referenced in almost every other show as kind of being the one that's way out there on the edge, the farthest away from help, the farthest away from support, the loneliest crew out there. They're kind of on their own. It has that reputation. So it was nice to kind of see, again, when you're looking at that affirming kind of attitude, you're looking at that kind of don't feel, I'm telling you, man, the social messaging in this show maybe wasn't as in your face, wasn't as abrupt. and therefore as controversial as it could have been, I guess, in other properties. But there was incredible social commentary here when it came to well-being, mental health, self-esteem, and things like that. I thought it was really, really nice what they did with Starbase 80 and those crew, because now you see a whole new life breathed into Starbase 80, as it is essentially Deep Space Nine, Bubba Joe. It is going to become the focal point for exploration for a whole new area of space that's never been explored before, kind of like with the Bajoran wormhole to the what was it, Gamma Quadrant. Now you see Starbase 80 becoming that for the multiverse. All right. And as far as the Cerritos goes, Ransom takes the captaincy. Mariner and Boimler as first officers. You see Rutherford and Tendi move up into engineering senior staff. And Rutherford removes his cybernetic implant.
Rutherford becomes senior staff in engineering. Tendi and T'Lyn are co-bridge science officers, is what
that's
it is.
right. Yes, that's right. Because and another great callback. That's right. That was to episode 7. See, and this is what I'm talking about, Bubba Joe. The way that they wrote this season, everything was episodic, everything was standalone, everything had a great story. But, man, by the time you got to the end, it was so wrapped up like a perfect gift with a perfect bow, because you come back to episode 7, Fully Dilated, which was also a callback to, there was another episode, wasn't there? This was one with Data. This was a TNG episode where there was a time dilation. So 1 minute had passed in the transporter room of the Cerritos. Meanwhile, 1 year passed for Tendi and Talon on the surface of a planet.
And it was only supposed to be a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
But why was it more than a couple of seconds?
Because Boimler spilled coffee or whatever it was.
No. Boimler had made this drink that other Boimler was like his favorite, right? And it turns out it's awful. And so he makes this mess. And so it's like, all of that, like the whole reason it went for a minute as opposed to a couple of seconds was because of the pad, which was a callback in I think every episode of this callback to that alternate Boimler.
And for those of you looking for beautiful fan service tied in with lore and great Star Trek storytelling, we see the return of Brent Spiner in this episode as well. Data's head from a multiverse, a parallel dimension, is actually the whole reason that Tendi and T'Lyn went down to this planet in the first place, is that they detected technology from the multiverse on the surface of a planet that had not yet discovered warp drive. So they were going in and trying, on a pre-industrial planet, they were going in to try to remove the Starfleet influence, and what they had found was from another timeline, or from another parallel universe, they found Data's head. And Brett Spiner returns to provide some great voice commentary, and actually is probably directly responsible for both T'Lyn and Tendi landing on the bridge, as Captain Freeman consulted the Data head at the end of that episode. So IJ says, I can't watch it. It's just painful. IJ, you really should give yourself a chance. You should give it a chance. You should grab a beer, grab some chips and nachos, and sit down and watch 2 or 3 episodes, and I bet you're in. I bet you're in, man. It's good Trek. It's good Trek. And the writing. We have always been very complimentary of writing. When it was Prodigy, we were talking about Prodigy a great deal.
We were always complimentary of good writing.
Good writing. Yeah, well, listen, we're critical of bad writing when we look at Section 31. All right?
Correct.
And we look at Section 31, and we focus in on that because we are the nerds. We're the storytellers. We as fans, we're not the storytellers, but we need a good story. The universe is vast. It requires good storytelling, and they had very, very good storytelling here. Bubba Joe, as you look at the ending of Lower Decks, as you mentioned, your synopsis is the story has concluded. Doesn't necessarily mean that there can't be another story in the future. As a matter of fact, this is a great segue, Bubba Joe, towards our kind of piece of the show where I want to give some updates and some other stuff that we've learned about other projects. And probably a great segue when we talk about Jack Quaid, Tawny Newsome, Noel Wells, Eugene Cordero, when we talk about their willingness and their availability and their desire to stay involved with the Star Trek universe, I find that it's very, very possible for that to happen. Case in point, Starfleet Academy has been confirmed. Not only actually production is almost done. All right, on its first season, has already been renewed for a second 10 episodes, Bubba Joe, for season 2. And we are seeing the confirmation of, hold on, going to find it. We've seen the confirmation of Bob Picardo returning as the EMH, returning as the Doctor in Starfleet Academy. That is phenomenal news. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that on this show. He's back, and it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with this character, how they explain the aging of a hologram. I hope that they do it something intuitive and something kind of cool like they did with Picard and John Delancey. I thought that was good, how they did that. It made that real, and I thought it gave John Delancey the ability to come in and be himself as he is.
Do they have to age him?
The Doctor? Yeah, I think they will. That technology is so expensive. As a matter of fact, I do want to. That's funny you bring that up.
I'm saying that it's not like he's vastly different than he looked on the show.
No, but he's different.
Bald
and you don't have. Listen, with Brent Spiner, like they did in Picard, they did a lot with makeup. You can't do a lot of that with Bob Picardo. His character didn't wear
I'm saying that. I don't think you need to. I don't think he has. It's not like he had a head full of hair and it was black before. Didn't have a head full of hair and it was, not very different than it is now. I don't think they're going to have to do much. I don't think they're going to have to do much to. I mean, yes, he has aged, but it is not like he looks. It's not like he looks like Picard does. Like Picard, while also bald, has aged and looks significantly older than he did on the show. Of course, that was 40 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. Well,
so
Voyager's
all of those
30.
characters
Voyager's
and their
30.
hair color has changed. So Robert Picardo, it has been 30 years, but I've seen him in things. He looks like Robert Picardo. Like, it's not like he has. Maybe it's just that I've seen him in more recent things, but it's not like he has vastly changed. He's not put on a lot of weight. His head, the shape of his head hasn't vastly changed. Like, I think that, it's going to look very similar to what we saw before.
Well,
maybe not exactly, but it's not like they're trying to make a senior. It's not like they're trying to make a senior hologram.
Yeah, well, I hope that there is some interesting writing for him. I'm sure there will be. He's been very open about, even on the cruise, he had talked about his return. He was very, very excited with what he was able to do with it, and very much enjoyed the cast that he got to work with. Star Trek Starfleet Academy has concluded its filming and is now in post-production and is expected now a little bit later than originally planned. We are looking to see that on Paramount Plus very late this year, 2025. They're hoping for a late this year, but it could be early in 26 launch. But that is what we're looking at. And again, whether you love it or hate it, we have confirmed 10 episodes. They have, fortunately, already been greenlit for a second season, which is actually technically fantastic that they've already got. So they've got another 10 episodes that they have not shot yet. And from my understanding is they're actually going to start working on that here relatively soon this year. There was also a tiny little Easter egg update on Tawny Newsome's new show, which has apparently now finished a lot of its writing, and they're moving into filming and production for that. So that's exciting. That is still completely under wraps, Bubba Joe. We know nothing extra about that. We don't even know who's casting that thing yet. But I know that they apparently have a story ready to go for that thing.
I think there's a difference in between having a story and having finished the writing.
Well, I kind of hope so because they had even talked about this on the cruise a little bit, and even Tim Russ had mentioned this on the cruise. Especially, I think you had just watched this panel. There is always a growing of the cast and ways that the cast are going to adapt to the writing, and then the writing wants to be able to then adapt to reflect the character. Tim Russ and Brandon Braga both talked about that on the cruise this year, that when you start writing for a character on paper, you really do only want to put down some of the core, some of the basic stuff, because you want to see how that character brings your character to life as a writer, and then you start writing for them. Brandon Braga has mentioned that the stories for all of the Voyager cast very much came after these characters were created. Like, all of this stuff was instigated and created by the actual cast themselves, which I think is a brilliant way to write. I think that's phenomenal. It really allows your cast to shine and to grow in those roles. I think it's great.
Sure.
So
it's probably why most of the first seasons of Star Trek are so rough.
Probably so, because you're creating something that doesn't have an organic feel, and then as time goes on, you're getting there. Regarding Strange New Worlds season 3, I don't think we have a whole lot there updating. Let's see. Strange New Worlds season 3 actually has officially wrapped filming. They just wrapped this month, March of 25. Season 3 is also set for debut in summer of 2025, so they're moving quite quickly with that one. And Strange New Worlds Season 4 has already begun, or has already been renewed, and filming is slated to begin next month, which is pretty exciting about that. Regarding this, and this frustrates me, regarding some of the drama between Paramount and Sundance. Bubba, I don't know if you noticed this, and this is going to affect our watchbacks. We are in the process, and actually it's already begun. All 10 TOS and TNG Star Trek movies have officially been moved off of the Paramount Plus platform. Have you noticed that? They gone. They have been moved over to MGM Plus and Amazon Prime Video. This is what we were worried about with Prodigy kind of going over to Netflix. Maybe this ends up being a good thing, Bubba Joe. Maybe the licensing and the streaming rights and all this stuff is going to bring some much-needed cash to the studios to be able to do more. But, yes, all 10 TOS and TNG Star Trek movies are no longer on the Paramount Plus platform and have moved to MGM Plus and Prime Video. There is... Now, we've heard this for a very long time, and I give it to you with a grain of salt, but it has been reported by Paramount insiders that a new Star Trek movie franchise is currently being discussed with Simon Kinberg in talks to produce it. Bubba Joe, have you ever heard of the name Simon Kinberg?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about him. Simon Kinberg does what? He's actually got some very decent credits under his belt.
Well, I just know the name. I don't know.
Well, you might recognize him as one of the guys who has brought multiple X-Men movies. As a matter of fact, he's been involved with The New Mutants, Fantastic Four, X-Men First Class, Last Stand, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, and Dark Phoenix. He was involved in all of those. So he absolutely is completely familiar with Juby says so he did one good X-Men movie. No! They were good, but he is a serialized movie producer. He knows how to bring a franchise to the table. So hopefully we'll see how that works.
A correction, DJ. I'm on Paramount Plus right now, and all of the Star Trek movies are there.
Well, then their day is rapidly approaching, folks. I was told that this was already done. When are the Star Trek? I'll come back to that a little bit later. I was actually told that was already done. I'm glad that it's still there, though. That's good. You just watched Undiscovered Country on Paramount Plus. Well, get them in, guys. because I feel like that is probably on their way out. That is some of this refinancing and structure stuff
Or
from
you could be old school like Bubba Joe.
and have them on VHS.
Well, I have them. I actually have them on VHS and on DVD and on 4K Blu-ray.
All right. Yeah, no, I knew Webster Sponge. I knew somebody was going to ask this question. Which Fantastic Four? The one that nobody liked. The one back in 2015. The one from 2015, that one, that Fantastic Four. Yeah, that was but we'll see. He's also worked on the
I'm just Googling Simon Kinberg.
and he worked on the
he's
Deadpool
also
films,
involved
too.
with The Martian
Mhm.
and Logan and Deadpool.
Yes.
So he has quality movies under his belt.
He absolutely does. He is currently in discussions. Very, very early, but he's in discussions to do something with the Star Trek franchise. So pretty excited about that. Let's see. What else do I have? Oh, my goodness gracious. The last thing that I've got for you guys, which I find to be very, very exciting, which has been rumored and now confirmed, at least of his interest, from the man, the myth, the legend himself, William Shatner, has vocally stated publicly that he has been approached by Paramount for a story involving the resurrection of James T. Kirk. I feel like there's credence to this story because you also saw in Star Trek Picard that in the final season there, when they were in the Daystrom Institute, you guys remember that one entry there in the Daystrom Institute, which was indeed an entry under Project Phoenix. Project Phoenix is a project related to Kirk's deceased body, which has been recovered and stored at the Daystrom Institute. So we're excited about what that can mean. William Shatner himself.
Are you sure you're reading news and not,
William
fan
Shatner.
service?
William Shatner confirmed that he has had a conversation with a Paramount writer, and he is awaiting a pitch. And this is literally news that's only like 2-3 days old, 2-3 weeks old. Sorry. So he has been interested in bringing something back. And actually, I'm going to show you something that he very recently did. Actually, I can't show it to you, but I'm going to tell you about this, Bubba Joe, because this just came out from the Rodenberry archives. I'll pull it up on screen for you, but we're not going to be able to play it. But this just released from the Rodenberry archives here about 3 months ago, which actually also brought back oh, my goodness gracious. Help me remember. Robin. She played Savick. Robin Curtis from the Search for Spock movie. You guys remember her?
Okay.
Yep. She also played in this short film released from the Roddenberry archive. It's the fourth so far in a series called 765874. They just released a new one here a couple of months ago called Unification, being the fourth in this installment. The first one just being 765874, the second of which was Memory Wall, the third Regeneration, and now the fourth called Unification, which was now this is wild to me. I don't know how they do stuff like this. Again, yeah, I know. 94 years old and still kicking ass. I don't know. That's right, Shadowed Fox. Sam Witwer did the body double for Shatner. Shatner was the executive producer for this thing. And there was also a body double for Leonard Nimoy. And you see the return of Spock on this as well. This is actually real official content released from the Roddenberry archives, which, if I'm not mistaken, Bubba Joe, is also partially produced by 455 Films with our friend Lolita Faccio, who is actually very, very involved in that stuff. So some interesting stuff here. This was the fourth from the Archive 765874 series, tied into using Star Trek and bringing William Shatner back in to the spotlight. This was, I'm trying to figure out how you would describe this. I watched it today, Bubba Joe. That was not, no, the first one came out a few years ago, Juby. This last one was just released in November. So just 4 months ago. Unification. Anyway, you guys should go and check that out and watch that. All of them are available at trekmovie.com. The 765, 874 series, all 4 of them are available there. And I'm pretty sure they're available on YouTube as well. Looking here. The third one was also apparently where Kirk's body was recovered from Viridian 3. So, interesting stuff. You guys go check that out. The Rodenberry Archive at trekmovie.com. And this is from the Rodenberry Archives that has been producing some of this other stuff and documentaries and things like that. The stuff that Lolita Fatcho and her team have been working on.
We're reporting on fan films now?
Yeah, sure, why not? This is not a fan film. This is the Rodenberry Archive, man. I feel
Which
like
is
that's
not Paramount.
It's not Paramount. But it's also not
it's a
like
fan film.
That's not fan film.
It's a fan film.
Dude, the people who worked on Trek are responsible for the Rodenberry Archives. This is the Akutas. This is Lolita Fatcho. All right? You call that fan films?
Yes.
That'll be a whole other conversation. You know what? We might be able to get the Akutas on the show. We should do that. We should book the Akutas so we can talk to them about that.
I would love to have a conversation with them. I have a lot of questions for them.
You know what? I'm going to send them an email right now.
They're fantastic people to listen. I've listened to a bunch of interviews.
They're brilliant.
They are absolutely fantastic people.
We'll send them an email when we get off the show. All right. Well, Prime says, listen, with so little coming out from Paramount, we'll take good fan films. Well, there you go. Maybe we need to do that. Davrick says there's already a novel that deals with Kirk being brought back to life by the Borg. Novel's not canon. We'll have to see what actually ends up happening. Hyperdrive says, is it canon? Which one is what canon? The Roddenberry Archives? Probably not officially. All right. And I would agree. Retrieving says, I believe the Roddenberry Archives are another level from fan films. And I would agree with that. But, I mean, it is not canon, not Paramount. Iron Chef says, the Akutas. Yeah, we've actually been in touch with them. I might reach out. I will reach out because I spoke to Denise Akuta after their appearance on Star Trek The Cruise 7 last year, and they agreed to come on the show, but there was a time restriction because they've been working on some stuff related to the Roddenberry Archives. So I'll reach back out and see if that's something we can do. All right.
All right.
Bubba Joe?
We got to wrap up.
I was getting ready to say, you got any final thoughts? Are you going to miss Lower Decks, man? I think I am.
Well, I can just go watch it again. But yes, I would love to see more Lower Decks. And in that regard, I will miss them. But unlike other TV shows, not necessarily other Star Trek shows, I feel very satisfied with Lower Decks. I felt the ending was very good. And a graduation is an excellent way to describe it that you used. So I feel very content with where Lower Decks exists. So no, I will miss it in the fact that it was quality Star Trek and it is no longer going to be produced, but I feel very satisfied with how it ended and where it ended.
I think that I can echo those sentiments. I will desperately miss more of these characters and their stories, but as Bubba mentioned earlier, I don't think we're done with these characters. I don't think we're done with these stories. We're just done in their current chapter. Much like what we saw with Picard, it might take us 10, 15, 20, 30 years to come back and see our beloved TNG cast, but I don't believe that we have seen the end of Beckett Mariner, Brad Boimler, Tendi. What's her other name?
Mistress of the Winter Constellation.
Yeah. Devana Tendi is who I was thinking of. And Sam Rutherford.
No, Mistress of the Winter. That is her other name.
That's the other name.
Mistress of the Winter Constellation.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you so very much for being here on this episode of Talking Trek outside of the game, outside of the Star Trek universe. Thanking my friend Bubba Joe for making his way back onto the stage. It's nice to see Bubba Joe, right? It is good to see Bubba Joe, and glad to have you back on the stage of Talking Trek. Not related to the game, but what brings us to the game in the first place, which is our unique and love and extreme fandom of the Star Trek universe. So I appreciate you being here. You have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you very much, Bubba Joe. In the meantime, I'd like to introduce the rest of you and ask the rest of you to hang out and visit our website. Go to TalkingTrekSTFC.com. Would you relax, bro? We'll do it in a second. I'm ending the podcast. My goodness, Oliver is dying here. He wants to do Chubby Bunny with you guys. So if you're live in the studio audience, hang out for a second. I'm going to let Oliver do Chubby Bunny with you. All right. Visit our website, Talking Trek STFC, to find links over to our YouTube, our Twitch, our Patreon. If you'd like to go and see what is happening over on Studio B, last night was absolutely epic, and you will have an opportunity to see that over at our Patreon for replays. You can also find access to our merch store, where there will indeed be the return of Bubba Joe merch making its way into the merch store from Candy White. Thank you guys so very much for all of your love, support, the generosity. Don't forget, we've got some big stuff coming up over the next couple of months. As a matter of fact, we are getting ready, only days away from kicking off the big sweepstakes program to send you and a friend one lucky winner and their guest aboard Star Trek The Cruise 9, headlined by the one and only epic Captain Admiral James T. Kirk. William Shatner will be on Star Trek The Cruise 9, and we're sending you to see him. That is coming up in just days. We begin that contest. So you guys visit our website and get ready for that. My name is UltimatDJz, your friendly neighborhood cat person, saying meow for now, love you minute. We're going to catch you on the next one. If you're in our live studio audience, hang out for just a minute. Oliver DJs is going to play Chubby Bunny with you. In the meantime, the rest of you are going to hang out and be here for our very next podcast coming up this coming Thursday, and our next broadcast on Twitch and YouTube coming up Tuesday night, where we have more insight into our Cardio Quest sponsorship. We're going to talk to you a little bit about that coming up on Tuesday night. Thank you guys so very much. Talking Trek's being recorded in front of a live studio audience for distribution across podcast platforms everywhere. I am your friendly neighborhood cat person, Ultimate DJ, saying meow for now. Love you, minute. Catch ya on the next one. Good night, everybody. All right, you guys didn't actually leave, did you? You didn't actually go nowhere, did you? Because Oliver's here. There's Matters. How you doing, Matters? Welcome in. Let me come back to let me come back to the thing. There he is. Hey, let me turn up your mic. See if it's working there.
Hello.
Hello, he says. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good.
How are your s'mores?
Good.
That's good. He wants to come out. There's Broken Wolf still hanging out in the chat. Appreciate you guys hanging out. You wanted to play some Chubby Bunny?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sold him that. I told him that, Madrox. Look, your shirt is on not only backwards, Madrox, but
out.
Also inside out.
Because it was too itchy on the inside.
That means it's dirty, bro.
I know, because I was playing with my rocket.
Yeah, but I've done all kinds of laundry. Like, I've done all kinds of laundry. There's so many clean clothes.
I know, this one was clean, but I got grass in it.
Valid reason. There you go. What's going on, Logo? Zerg, how are you? Listen, Oliver would like to play a game of Chubby Bunny with you. Silvertab wants to know why you were awake at 3 o'clock last night when you came up to Studio B.
Because I had to take care of the house because the boys were were going crazy.
You had to take care of the house? The boys were going crazy. They were actually going crazy last night. We had parenting issues last night, Matters. At like 4:30 in the morning, I had to actually just put on a couple of tracks because I thought the boys were going to punch each other in the face. I had to go break up a fight, didn't I?
And we also we bought 2 cans of. They bought 2 cans of spray, like hairspray that's
Wait, what?
flammable.
Uh-huh.
And we threw it in the fire and it went kaboom.
You did what?
I didn't throw it in there. It was them that threw it in there.
Where did you build a fire? It was raining.
No, it was at like 12. It wasn't raining at 12. So we decided to go out and make a fire.
Oh
and
my
blow
God.
up cans of hairspray.
And then that's
Well, that was the
Noah
end of
told me
Super
about
B.
his strategy to make a fire, so we did that strat. And that's when we threw that.
Hopefully you
marshmallow
ducked and
after
covered,
we
buddy.
used the cans and went kaboom. Because one of them wasn't working. Then we threw a second one in, and it went kaboom, and then the second explosion went off.
You're going to have to cut that out before you post this.
You realize that those things are like missiles. Like, they don't just go kaboom. They fire off like a bullet.
I know.
Shrapnel.
Right.
Metal shrapnel will shoot out. Be careful. That's not safe.
Like a grenade, metal's
I
going
was
to
at
go
the
flying
top
in
of
lots
the
of
porch
directions.
there, so I was fine.
How
I was at the top of the porch.
tall
I was
is your
fine.
porch?
What's the range? Those
Not
things could probably shoot
700
fire
feet
if they're right
tall.
projectile.
Okay? Like, no, he was absolutely within range.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was at the top of the porch.
Oh, my God. They can't be left alone.
No.
They can't be left alone.
I mean, obviously, I blame the older ones in this scenario.
We weren't able to make
They should have
s'mores, so I
known
started
better.
making raw s'mores.
Well, okay.
Mad Rocks put laughing alligators.
Wilson said, this is hilarious. Listening to the Oliver story. I'm glad I'm not recording it. I could go to jail. All right.
Okay, let's get into Chubby Bunny.
You want to do Chubby Bunny? All right. How's this going to work? You want to explain the rules?
So, Chubby Bunny is
It's not
you
those little
put one
marshmallows, is it?
marshmallow in your mouth,
the
and,
big uns.
Good.
and you say Chubby Bunny, and then you keep going until you can't say it anymore. Which these marshmallows are too big, so I have to like half it.
No, you're not halving it. You're going to stick one in your mouth. All right. So what is it that the chat has to do to get extra marshmallows?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Is your nasal passage clear at the moment? You can breathe through your nose safely.
Can you breathe through your nose?
Yeah.
Do it. Close your mouth.
Okay, good.
Breathe through your nose. Okay. Yeah, he's
'Cause-
breathing. Hey, real quick, before
Good,
we
good.
start, go to Studio B and get the blue bowl that's on the back table. That's your spit bowl. You don't act like you're not going to spit these out. You're not going to eat it. I can tell you that. Okay? I'm going to go get a spit bowl. Yes. He says, ew. Yeah, me and Peyton did Chubby Bunny last night. If you guys can see, dude, that's how many we did last night. Okay? That's ridiculous. Okay, stop. Here. Come here.
I put it on upside down.
Yeah, you were. Stop. What are you doing? No, leave it right where it is. Okay, there you go. All right,
You
so
didn't empty your spitball?
no, I didn't. Dude, it was 5 o'clock in the morning, bro. Okay? No, I did not. Stop it. I did not empty the spit bowl. It's gross. It's rock hard now, though.
Again.
It's rock hard. Okay. So, are you just going to do this for the chat, or is there something that you that you want from the chat, like 100 bits? You want 100 bits?
200 bits.
200 bits per marshmallow.
I'll get to at least 1,000.
What? Wait, what?
I'm at least going to get to 1,000 bits.
You're not stuffing 5 of these in your mouth, bro.
Yes, I am.
That is absolutely not going to happen.
Okay. So,
All right, here
we go.
There you go. Papa Smurf gave you your first one. There is
Are you
no
allowed?
way
Ew.
you're getting 5. All right, let's go. Say it.
Chubby Bunny.
Oh, you're not getting the 5, bro. You're sticking a second one in now? Okay, he ain't even waiting on the bets. You guys get this one
That's
for
a
free.
big one right there. That's impressively large.
It is impressively large. All right, say,
Chubby Bunny.
oh, you're not making it to 5. Here you go. Are you gonna wait for?
You might manage 3, but he ain't making 4.
No.
That's my bet.
All right, get the 4th one in there.
I'd like a
You're
replay on
already
that
gonna
one.
spit. No, yeah,
The
get
laughter
another one in
was-
there. Get another one in there.
600 bits.
You didn't wait. You did it for 200 bits. Papa Smurf gave you 200, and then you just kept going.
Okay, but then I'm getting another one for 400.
That's not how this works,
Yes,
bro.
it is. I ate 4
He is not. He is not figuring this one out right now.
Let's just restart. It's only
Yeah,
fair.
You already
the
gave it to him.
walkathon. People
It's only fair if
didn't
I do
sponsor
half.
you
It's only fair if I do
for
half.
marshmallow.
Why are you tearing them in half? That's not right.
No, if I do it half, I'll get more.
He's like, Daddy, more
Chubby
more
bunny.
bits.
That doesn't make sense, man. But he just put both halves in his mouth. You do not understand the point of this game, bro. All right. There's your chubby bunny. Are you ready to go inside? I'm hungry. I want to eat some dinner.
No.
What time is it? Oh my gosh, it's almost 7. We got to get ready for bed.
2 more.
Happy birthday!
It's your birthday. It's actually not his birthday. It's your birthday soon. Your birthday's coming up at the end of May. What do you want to do for your birthday? Go ahead. Tell everybody now with your mouth full what you want to do for your birthday. You want to stream? You want to play Fortnite? You want to? What do you want to do for your birthday?
Get V-Bucks.
You want? Yeah, but what are you going to do? Oh my God, I just got a chill in my ear. What are you going to do? You got to entertain people. You can't just come out and be like, "Oh, I want V-Bucks." Is Oliver playing Fortnite after dinner? Do you want to play a little Fortnite after dinner?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that little tongue stick out? Did you guys see it? Do that again. Lick your lips. Lick. He stuck his tongue out, and it was like. That was. I can't even duplicate that. That was hilarious. All right, are we done? Are we done?
I'm eating 2 more marshmallows.
What? Why are you? All right, just whatever. It's fine.
Hey, DJs, there was a comment you made with Bubba that I wanted to jump on and make a comment of.
Yeah.
Or extra. Remember when you said something about Chakotay's and Seven's relationship?
Yes.
I watched a documentary, and Chakotay explained that during the time period that Seven was dating the head writer for the show, he was talking to her, and he dared her. He basically said, "Oh, I'd love to see a kiss scene happen with Chakotay and Seven, but it would never happen. Your boyfriend doesn't have the balls."
Which was Brandon Braga. Wasn't she? Didn't she get married to him? Or maybe not. Maybe it was just a dating thing.
Possibly, but the whole relationship between Seven and Chakotay was a dare.
Well, it was
for those last few episodes.
It feels like it wasn't Brandon Braga's writing because it was piss poor. Brandon Braga's a genius, and that writing was terrible. I hated that story.
S'mores.
Oh, whoever Seven was dating, I can't remember if it was.
It was
they
Brandon
did
Braga.
Say the name, but
it
yeah,
absolutely
okay.
was Brandon Braga. Here, watch out. Here, I got to Google this now. I got to make sure.
I'm going to show you how to make a s'more.
Okay, you teach him how to make a s'more.
S'mores.
Don't walk away. You're on a
s'mores.
wired mic. All right.
I need to go grab my materials
Close
from
wide.
the house.
Gary Ryan
So I'll
dated.
be right back.
Yeah, it was Brandon Braga.
Okay. Well, that was The whole relationship there was because Chakotay dared it to happen.
Okay, well, there you go.
And something I learned about Phlox during his auditions, he squawked after every basic reading. He would squawk like a weird alien bird or something. And then when his first day on set, after he had gotten the part, he squawked, and the director was like, "Don't ever fucking do that." Oh, sorry. Hope for.
Come on, Carson.
I know. Sorry. That's it. That was a quote. That's what he said. You're
Oh,
allowed
that makes it
quotes,
okay.
right?
Yeah, that makes it better. Dude, marshmallows are
I could
disgusting.
100% see John Billingsley doing that.
Ah,
Totally.
marshmallows are disgusting. You know that? They're really gross.
Pure
They're just-
sugar.
They're just made out of sugar and horse hooves.
Really gross.
Well, yeah, gelatin is made out of collagen, which is made out of animal bones, basically.
Gross.
They're one step away from being glue. I mean, if they weren't sugar based, they might just be glue.
They might be.
Yeah.
All right,
Take out the sugar and add a little solvent.
I'm
and you
ready
got
to
yourself a
go.
nice
Where
glue.
is he? He wants to make a s'more for you guys, but I'm ready to go. I'm hungry.
Are you using a Hershey's or a Cadbury? Use for your chocolate.
Hershey's. Obviously, it'll be Hershey's.
Get the caramel for your s'mores, because then it's a caramel s'more.
Those are good.
All right, will you hurry up and make this s'more? I'm ready to go eat. I'm seriously so hungry.
Graham crackers, or are you guys using some sort of substitute?
Why
cracker?
are you setting your materials on my phone? Hold on, put them back. Put them back. I want to show people what you just did. He just comes out here, not with a plate. Not with a plate. This is what he sets up right here. This is my cell phone. And he sets his materials on my phone. You know what? I play on my phone while I poop. Just thought I'd let you know. Just letting you know that.
I don't care.
Ew. He's like, I do that too. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Here's what you're
Lord.
gonna need.
Just to see what he does with your stuff when he poops.
Bed. Can they still see me?
Yes, they can hear you and see you. Would you just get moving? I'm hungry. Hungry.
You get your graham cracker.
You get your graham cracker.
You get your chocolate and you put it on next. Then you grab your raw marshmallow.
Raw marshmallow.
Put it sideways or vertical, however you want, on top of the chocolate.
No, it's got to be vertical. What do you mean?
Grab
What?
this.
No, can't be vertical. It's got to be squishy. You squish it out
That's
like
what
that.
I mean. The verticalness that squishes down. It keeps it firm. So
No. You got to squeeze it out on its side.
Uniform.
Oh, we've got a problem now, Karkin. All right, horizontal versus vertical marshmallows. There's only one way to do this.
Rock, paper, scissors.
If you do vertical, it evenly spreads out as you squeeze it.
It does the same thing if it's horizontal.
It's not a different shape.
No.
You don't get the circle shape when it's horizontal.
Look
you
right here.
Maybe we're
It goes
talking
just
about
like that. No, this is horizontal. See, look, it's like that, and then when you squish it, it just goes just like that, perfectly squished out.
Can I please have my s'more to eat?
He wants to eat it. Hey, Jace.
Yeah, you can't put it on vertical because then it bulbs out one way.
Yeah, that's right. It like barfs out on one side.
I'm not on the Twitch right now, but
Come
maybe
on.
but I'm thinking the flat side is the top. Are we talking the two flat sides? Maybe you guys make your marshmallows.
That's the right way to do it.
The round side goes top and bottom.
No, the flat sides go.
No,
you people are.
What is wrong with you, you barbarian?
Just to tell y'all are wrong about s'mores.
You're wrong.
Are you agreeing with me?
Oh,
the same way.
This is going to be a conversation now, Oliver. We're gonna the next time we do a porch stream. Next time we do a porch stream, we're just gonna have to make a bunch of s'mores. I know it's gonna be terrible, isn't it?
A marshmallow is a cylinder. You take the two circular sides at the top and connect those pieces to the graham cracker or the chocolate.
Nope, it's got to be the round.
No.
I agree with
No,
my
because it
dad.
squishes out. It squishes out the end of the cylinder. It's like a can of biscuits.
I agree.
The flat side is what
I'm
you're
sorry,
sticking
Matthews, but I
through.
agree with my dad.
You pull it off the stick completely and then place it on the graham cracker? No, you pinch it. And
That's
pull the stick
exactly right, Matters. You put the stick through the end of the cylinder, and then you squeeze it, and then you pull the stick out.
Right.
That is a cylinder on its
We're
side.
talking campfire s'mores here. We were talking microwave s'mores, I thought.
Because you make them the same as when you're at the campfire.
S'mores are s'mores.
Well,
bro.
no, because like you said, you squeeze them off, you pull them off the stick. That adds a different motion. It's already hot when you're applying it to said thing. But if you're going marshmallow cold, then you need surface area for proper connection and allow the spread.
Listen, that is a complete nullification of the entire thing because a marshmallow that's cold won't spread and goop anyway. It's just
Well, how are
like
you
there.
doing it right now? He said back it up. He said cold marshmallow.
He said raw marshmallow, actually. That's what he said. But either way, no, listen, you can't have a different methodology to cold s'mores versus hot s'mores, all right? It's just s'mores.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I have something to tell y'all about s'mores.
What do you have to tell us about s'mores?
I'm not gonna lie, Matters. If it goes through here, it allows to have 2 holes in it or more, so it'll goose out whenever you.
That's
cook
true.
it.
See, that's another good point. Listen, if you're using your poker and it's going through right here, then when you squeeze it down, that's when you get your maximum viscosity. Okay? When you squeeze it down, then it squeezes out the holes.
Yeah.
Dad,
You're right.
How do you like my s'mores?
Your s'mores are amazing because they're made properly.
Before
Incorrect.
before you start doing this whole podcast, I actually gave him one of my s'mores.
Yes, it was delicious. All right, can I go eat dinner now, dude?
Yes,
It's
sir.
7. All right, guys.
Peace out.
Peace out.
We should play Fortnite.
We might play a little Fortnite later tonight, but not on stream. I got to go eat dinner, and it's 7 o'clock. He's got to go to bed.
Outro.
And I've been up I've been up a lot this weekend. I probably need to go to bed early. I still have to finish your podcast, the G5 podcast. Scalyback is literally cussing me out hourly in stream in DM.
I believe it.
Yeah, I've got to get that up. I've got to get tonight's podcast up. I mean, yes.
Outro.
Okay, he just shrank down into the floor. So yeah,
That was his outro.
yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna press this button. Is there anybody you would like to raid? Let's see who's on. For those of you who are on Twitch. Dude, look, Jesu is remote DJing. That is cool. Bafty is still on from a 72-hour stream. She's still,
She's just sleeping there.
Yeah, she's got a 24 she's got 24 hours left to go.
Yikes.
Yeah, let's see. We've got Skittish is on. So we got some great content creators on right now. All right. Let's see. We can do Jesu, who's DJing, or Bafty, who's trying to wrap up a 72-hour. You know, I feel like we should go raid Bafty. It was her birthday yesterday. That's why she's doing the 72-hour stream. All right, let's go say hey to Bafty. Everybody go over and wish her happy birthday. Okay, go over and be ridiculous. It was her birthday, and she's ripping a 72-hour stream. She made cinnamon biscuits earlier today. All right, you guys go say hi. Happy birthday. Go be ridiculous. Thank you guys very much for coming out. My name is UltimatDJz. Thank you very much for spending time with us today, and we will see you again Tuesday night. Jay says, when's the next Fortnite stream? I don't know, man. I haven't been streaming it much. Maybe tomorrow, depending on how I feel, but probably, I don't know. I like my days off, so we'll see. But I might be playing a little bit later tonight if you just want to look for me online, okay? All right. We're going to go say hi to Bafty. You guys behave yourselves. Have a wonderful night. Pieces.